We are approaching a major deadline this week in the U.S. government's attempt to ban TikTok. The app's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, has until Thursday to file legal briefs in its lawsuit against the Biden administration. The suit was filed in response to a new U.S. law forcing ByteDance to sell TikTok or face a U.S. ban. The law comes amid growing concerns that China's government can use TikTok to gather sensitive information on its more than 170 million American users. TikTok and ByteDance argue that a ban on the app would violate the First Amendment. Joining us now is Seth, a business and constitutional attorney, to talk more about the case. So is this, in this long saga, a pretty big week in the case? What might happen Thursday?
Well, on Thursday, that is the beginning of the expedited briefing schedule, because this court, recognizing the importance of this case and the need for speed, have scheduled a final briefing schedule. So this week in June, TikTok will have to file its brief asking for final judgment. And then in July will be the reply briefs, in August, the rebuttal briefs. And then there's going to be a final hearing in mid-September. So this thing's going to move really fast. It's important to zoom out and recognize that this is a unique, historic moment in American business. It's the first time in the world of big tech that the United States government has ordered a company such as this to divest and get out. And this is something that is going to be moving very quickly in the court. They want to try to preserve the possibility of an appeal to the United States Supreme Court if that is necessary. And in this case, TikTok faces a significant legal uphill battle.
And why is that? What are some of the challenges for TikTok right now with this lawsuit?
Well, I think that TikTok is going to have a very difficult time of it. Procedurally, it's interesting and important to note that although they assert First Amendment right to freedom of expression, the powers of the Constitution end at our borders. However, the Constitution, surprisingly or not surprisingly, does not protect the CCP. The plaintiff in this case is trying to get around that wrinkle by saying that they have incorporated as a Delaware company and therefore they have constitutional rights. I think the court's not going to have a problem seeing that as a smokescreen. It's really kind of a mini-me for the CCP. So procedurally, they've got a problem. But regardless of that, substantively, they really need to overcome the battle that the government can probably establish, the test set by the Supreme Court, that it is a directly related to a compelling government interest. What is the compelling interest? Data security and national security. The government has a very compelling case here. And the thing that's so interesting is that this is one of the unique moments here in Washington, D.C., that TikTok actually pulled off getting all of the politicians here united, because they're viewed as a propaganda machine that strips data away from kids and everybody else in the country. So it's going to be very difficult for TikTok to survive this case. We'll see it moving on a fast track with a decision from the court here in Washington within the next few months.
So you've got bipartisan support, but you also have 170 million American users, and a lot of TikTok users are not happy about this, and they're concerned about what a ban may mean for their livelihood on the social media app. How powerful is that public voice, Seth, in this legal argument? And is it a factor at all?
It will be a factor. I don't think that it'll sway the end result. There are some co-appellants, including several users of TikTok, that will be filing court briefs as well, because as you've noted, over 170 million users, which is why it's such a momentous moment in social media and American business. But they're probably not going to be able to win the day, because there is a legitimate national security interest. Fortunately for them, there are other modes of expression on the internet, and they'll be able to express that elsewhere. But they shouldn't have the right to be able to express their businesses. And of course, business also enjoys a First Amendment freedom of expression. But when you have a legitimate government interest and a compelling interest here, it's going to be very difficult for TikTok and some of these users to win. I do predict that after a loss, TikTok will probably appeal to the United States Supreme Court, but it's really a far cry to even anticipate whether the Supreme Court will open its doors to this kind of an appeal. And make no mistake about it, if the Supreme Court locks its doors, then ultimately in a few months in the United States, TikTok will have to close its doors.
Okay, well, this is the beginning of what will be an expedited and important case. Seth, thanks for your time.